Hey, howdy, hey, and welcome to this special episode of the Halo Hot Take Hoedown. Vince the Angels Cowboy and I are here to talk about the year that has been the inaugural year of the Halo Hot Take Hoedown. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. Hell, we're even going to talk about the fugly, if you know what I'm saying. All that and more coming up after this.
From Anaheim down to the Texas plains, hot takes flying riding off the reins. Lone Star Halo Cowboy Vince, calling it bold, never on the fence. Hoedown time, turn it up loud. Hot takes are ringing, drawing a crowd. No matter how wild, no matter how strange, ain't no limit on the takes we say.
Hey, howdy, hey, and welcome to this special episode of the Halo Hot Take Hoedown. What makes it so special? Well, it's the last formal show of the 2025 season. I won't put words in Vince's mouth, but I'm sure you guys will see us again this year. I mean, Vince and I will find something to talk about here and there. Hell, if you guys have any hot takes for us and you either want to join us or you want us to talk about it, you know where to find us at Angels_Cowboy, at Halos in the Infield, at Lone Star Halo. Message us. Let us know what you want us to talk about, and we'll make it work. We have a long off season ahead of us, hopefully a fun off season, but of course, time will tell. Vince, we got to formally meet over the weekend. Obviously, we've had the show. It's always kind of funny when you meet people from the podcast, either listeners, or viewers, or fellow co-hosts and podcast mates, because it's like meeting an old friend, right? We all know each other. We all talk religiously, but the group chat on Facebook, text messages, the podcasts themselves. So it's weird because when you finally meet in person, you're really not even meeting.
I hate to say it, but it kind of feels like online dating. I kid you not, because like you're online dating and you finally meet the person, you like their picture, you talk to them through text, and finally, hey, let's go on a date. I really like you, and then you meet them in person. It's like, oh, so so you're real. But that's kind of how it is. Even though I know I know that you're real because I've seen your podcast since you guys started, and but it was great to finally meet Fernando in person, and also meeting Todd, Courtney, Renee, all the listeners that were there. Dom and I have met before, but we never got to really spend time together. And it was just a fun day that Saturday. I mean, like, how many people are out there that just figure, hey, let's just get together and just play softball? Like, it's pretty common in California, especially because we are I would say the factory of baseball, because the best players come out of California, the best softball players come out of California, and also with the weather we have, with year-round weather, we're able to come together and have these days, whether it's Sunday League, Adult League baseball, whether it's just a day at the park with the family or friends, or of course rec softball during the week. We're lucky to even have this. I mean, there's some, like, you look at the East Coast, when it snows in the wintertime, they can't play. We're still playing on Christmas Day if we want to.
Yeah, it was definitely a good time. It's always nice to see everyone, meet, like I already said, meet the people who you talk to virtually all the time. You mentioned some of the listeners. It was really cool to see people athleticism shine. The highs, the lows. Dominic did great. EQ, just to name a couple. I mean, there was a lot of people who did really well. Todd could not hit the ball fair to save his life. For anyone who plays MLB The Show, Todd's contact was like in the 90s because he kept hitting the ball, but he kept fouling it. So he just couldn't hit it the correct way. It was pretty funny. But yeah, it was a really good time. Thank you to everyone who came. And if you didn't come, do what you can to come out the next time, because it's really fun to A, meet you guys, B, have such competitive games. I won't get into it too much because we already spent a lot of time talking about the softball game as it was. But those games were super competitive. I felt more like a game of like hockey at times than anything else. It got a lot more physical than I thought it would. I'm sure Vince would agree with that. But it was a good time nonetheless. Vince, today we're going to recap our 2025 season, talk about our hot takes. Some of them were great, some of them incredible, some of them we might have just missed the mark, and some of them we weren't even close. So we'll go through them for better or worse. Starting with number one. This was kind of our preview show. The Angels had the best offseason in the AL West.
All right. So I would it looked good on paper, but there was only one guy that most likely stood out to all of us, and it was Kenley Jensen. So if I was to grade the offseason for sure, or based off how we did in the regular season, I would probably give it a good, maybe solid C, maybe a C minus. C, I'm maybe being too nice in a way, but C minus probably kind of sounds realistic because of who else we got. We had Kyle Hendricks, who basically was just an extra arm to have. But and then we had Travis d'Arnaud, who was basically supposed to be a leader and be a mentor to Logan O'Hoppe. And don't get me wrong, Travis d'Arnaud had his moments, but at the same time, there were games where our pitching did not contribute because he was calling the wrong pitches, he was setting up wrong. It just wasn't going so well with him behind the dish. And there was days where we just prayed that Logan O'Hoppe was back there. And that was always when d'Arnaud was catching. And then Jorge Soler, probably, I'd say the biggest bust out of the free agent signings or trades. So it wasn't a free agent signing, it was a trade. I think he was the biggest bust, but mainly because he's getting older, the injuries are starting to kick in, Father Time's kicking in. And the question is, next year, are we still going to use him? Because we have him for next season too. Is he going to be a full-time DH again next year? And is Mike Trout going to be the back in right field, or does Mike Trout become a full-time DH and has to just swallow and say, look, your career in the outfield is pretty much over, you're a hitter now? And we'll wait and see. Maybe Soler does get traded somewhere, we don't know, but we'll find out. But yeah, if I was to give that hot take, yeah, that's a solid C minus. I mean, I think, like I said, Kenley Jensen was the top name out of the entire offseason. From that was a success in this season.
Yeah, I think another big bust that you forgot to bring up was Kevin Newman. That was a really big bust. We brought him for depth, right? He wasn't meant to be a legitimate starter. Now, Zach Neto was injured to start the year. A lot of people forget that. So Kevin Newman was kind of going to step in that role. And what a lot of people don't remember is Kevin Newman was a very respectable role player for the Diamondbacks and, a couple of other teams. But primarily the Diamondbacks is where he kind of got his notoriety. And man, oh man, did he come here and just become a nothing burger. You mentioned the Jorge Soler trade. That was kind of disappointing. I know not the next take, but I think the one after that is the idea that James gave us that Jorge Soler was going to get less home runs than Joe Adell. We were like, nah, you're crazy. Jorge Soler is going to, take him to the cleaners. And as we'll talk in a couple of minutes, we were wrong about them. But yeah, aside from the Kenley Jansen signing, that was an A minus, B plus, right? B plus is worst case scenario. It was a great signing. Wouldn't mind if he came back on a reasonable deal. Besides that, I mean, who was the second best move? Kikuchi? I mean,
Kikuchi.
And he was fine.
Yeah.
Highest paid pitcher for a single season in Angels history. Take that for what it is. Had a 3.99 ERA, 7-11 win-loss record. Obviously, that's kind of, we don't really look at that too much. Not exactly his fault that the offense wasn't firing or the defense behind him. Yusei Kikuchi was a fine signing. I don't regret that signing. Now, if Yusei Kikuchi is your opening day starter again next year and he's set to be the ace next year, that's when maybe I start to sour on him a little bit. But overall, if this is the pitcher he's going to be for the next 2 years, I'll take it. Better than Tyler Anderson. But Tyler Anderson, topic for another day. But yeah, this take, I'm going to say aged like milk that's been in the refrigerator for an extra month. So, yeah, as it grows, it's a little chunky. Yeah, but, at least you don't leave it out in the hot sun. It wasn't we didn't completely miss the bag. Because it's true. I mean, look at some of the other off seasons around the division. I mean, look what happened with the Texas Rangers and Jock Peterson. Talk about one of the worst signings in baseball, right? So, once again, topic for another day, but I think this take could have been much worse. Okay. After that, this one, probably not much to talk about. Keep looking. We completely fumbled the bag. Logan O'Hoppe will be an all-star in 2025. We weren't even close.
That one hurts. I think out of all the hot takes, I know it's the second one, and we still have a lot more to go. But that was easily the one that hurt me the most because I really thought this guy was going to be a future star, at least in this season. And honestly, even if he did have all-star numbers, it might have been tough for him to be an all-star because some guy in Seattle was also kicking ass this year, and he was for sure going to be the best
big jumper.
Yeah, him, whatever. But that was something that I think could have affected O'Hoppe's chances if he was to be an all-star, had an all-star caliber season. But now I think it's also a way of try to humble him a little bit. I think this humbling season is a way of letting him know, look, you are human. You're not you're not a god, basically. You're not invincible. It's baseball. Baseball is the most humbling sport. I'm hoping that he does come next year. So obviously or he comes back next year and tears it up and starts to become that franchise catcher that we wanted. And I hope his method changes because I actually was just recapping the episode, the last episode with Rob and the GMs, and how he mentioned that O'Hoppe's way of playing changed. They changed his catching method. I hope he goes back to the old method. I hope that they don't change him again, and they figure out, look, whatever worked in 2023 and 2024, go back to it because you had a pretty solid seasons those 2 years. And on top of that, same thing with your hitting. Try to get back into that groove. But maybe he was also playing with some nagging injuries that we don't know about. But other than that, this hot take was total fail. Total fail. Maybe an F- if it exists. And I know it does.
Yeah, he had a really, really bad, honestly, 2025. Let's call it what it is. Like you said, it's really going to matter to see how he responds from this. We're going to have another hot take here that we talk about shortly, where we were talking about the face of the franchise. When we were talking about Zach Neto being the face of the franchise, you and I agreed. But there was a lot of people who were like, wait, what about Logan O'Hoppe? Honestly, I think after the 2025 season, Logan O'Hoppe proved that this is not his franchise. Could it be one day? Maybe. Absolutely. That's still in the realm of possibility. He has that talent. Nobody's doubting that. But 2025 was not his year. How will he bounce back? I, for one, hope it's a great offseason for him. As of right now, it seems like he's going to have the fortune of being healthy to end the season. Hey, if you got wood near you, knock on it. So we can all hope that everyone on the roster has a healthy end of the season so they can have a healthy offseason, progress like they normally would. And let's see if this team and these individual players can take a step forward next year. Okay, we now move to one of our gold star hot takes. Kenley Jansen was the best Angels move of the offseason. Honestly, Vince, I think Kenley Jansen might have been one of the best moves that Perry's ever made in his tenure. I think that is probably a more fitting take at this point because there's no doubt he was the best move of the offseason. But let's talk about that for a second. Is Kenley Jansen one of the best signings that Perry's ever made?
That Perry's ever made? Yeah, I would say so because he had a solid year and he kept us into ball games a lot. He kept us in the hunt for a little bit, and also he had the confidence as well. We'll never forget after the sweep of the Dodgers, He said, "Hey, we just gotta use this momentum," and that's something that veterans say. Like the young kids will probably say, "Oh, I just had the best series. Like we just beat the defending champs. All right, let's party." It's just like, dude, you still got to play baseball the next day. And that's what Kenley basically was telling the young guys. Like, look, yeah, it's exciting to beat the defending champs and also the juggernaut team. You just beat 3 all-stars or 3 generational players for sure. But it doesn't really mean much because guess what? You still have to win from here on out. You still have to keep that confidence going. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. It was tough. And that's the thing about baseball. Well, actually, not even baseball. It's the thing about Angels baseball. You can beat the best team in the league, but you can't beat the worst. But other than that, with Kenley Jensen, yeah, it is. The hot take is definitely an A, solid A, because he had his moments. I mean, when he came in non-safe situations, he blew it. There was those times. But also poor managing is part of it too. Ray Montgomery should have said, you know what, you're only going to be a closer when we have the lead, but if it's in a non-safe situation, we'll depend on other guys.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you got to go out there and you got to play. And that's what it boils down to. But yeah, A+ hot take for sure. This one probably wasn't very much of a hot take, right? It was probably lukewarm, but nevertheless, let's move on. So this one was the one I alluded to a little earlier. Jo Adell will hit more homers than Jorge Soler. Now, we both had admitted that, oh no, it's going to be Soler. Maybe Soler gets hurt, maybe it'll be Adell. But, yeah, man, like I said, I mean, Adell took him to the cleaners. Adell was one of the best power hitters in Major League Baseball this year. One person whose kudos I need to give, let's bring her flowers out, Miss the Angels grandma said back 22 weeks ago, absolutely, Adell will be on top at the end of the season. When everyone called her crazy, I mean, nobody called her crazy, but, metaphorically, she said, yes, it will be Adell. Besides that, she's the only one, I think. You know what? No, Trent Kenny. Yes, bro. Soler can't hate water falling out of a damn boat. Everyone else probably was like, is going to strike out more. I see James Richardson here. Survey says, and then Papa Sheepdog. I don't even know how Adell is still being spoken of. Time to turn that page. Not only that, because Vince and I didn't go that far. When that point of the year had come, I think we both projected Adell to have a decent season. Now, we would have been out of our minds to have said, oh, this guy's going to be one of the best power hitters in Major League Baseball, but he was. Vince, are you excited next year about the possibility of Jo Adell opening up the season in the outfield for the Angels?
100%. I think he's set in stone. He's Sharpied himself in the opening day roster. To quote you said that he is definitely a Sharpied in player on the roster for next season. Yeah, because he's been part of this organization for a long time, and I believe he could be an organizational player, which means he might not succeed anywhere else. I think he could be. I don't like to reference him as much, but a lot of people will understand. I think he's going to be the Andre Ethier of the Angels. Andre Ethier, he could have played anywhere else. There was talks of him going to the Diamondbacks because he grew up in Arizona. That's his home state, and he lives out there. It's like, oh, let's just stay here, and we don't have to worry about moving. He could have gone to the Yankees and had probably a 30 to 40 home run season because of the short porch. He could have gone just anywhere, right? But he chose to stay in Los Angeles because it was him. It's his place. They know how to work with him. They know how to build him and everything. I think Jo Adell is going to be that same guy. He could go anywhere at this point because of his value, but I believe he doesn't want to go anywhere because where else is he going to go? The only team I would consider him to go would be Cincinnati because he grew up in Kentucky, and Kentucky people are big Reds fans. He most likely grew up a Reds fan. I could be wrong, but he probably grew up watching them and figured, you know what, I would love to play for the Reds because of the history with Pete Rose and the Big Red Machine and all that. That's the only team I would think of, but I think he's set in stone here. He should be an Angel for life. It might be different, but that's my take.
Angel for Life is a little crazy right now, but I get what you're saying. I like the idea of Joe Adell patrolling the outfield. I like him in right field. I think he's a great right fielder. I just don't think center field is his position. They tried it this year. I think going into next season, Mike Trout needs to be your DH. Unless you can convince him to potentially move to like first base and maybe Nolan Shanuel does enough to, prove that maybe he can be an outfield spot. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the safest bet is Joe Adell in right, Trout at DH, figure out your center field situation for next year, and then see what happens with Taylor Ward in left. Joe Adell, we'll talk a little bit about him later when we get to another month, a player of the month projection. So the first player of the month prediction took place in May. This was actually a Vince hot take, and boy, oh boy, did it pan out. You say Kikuchi will have the best month of May by any Angels pitcher. I'll give you the numbers, and then Vince can tell us what went into the genius, or maybe he'll say the madness into this take. So 33.1 innings pitched, 1.89 ERA, 31 hits allowed, only 7 earned runs, gave up 3 home runs, and struck out 30 in the month of May. Vince, what went into that hot take for you?
Honestly, it was a shot in the dark and a crapshoot all mixed together. Because I'm gonna be honest. I mean, hey, we gotta have some Wild West terms, roll the dice, whatever. Anyway, but I just didn't feel like there were any other pitchers that were going to stand out. I didn't think Kyle Hendricks was going to pan out in that month because he was still getting used to the ballpark and whatnot. But I just felt like that with Yusei Kikuchi had his struggles in April. I feel like he probably would have figured it out because it took him a month to figure out his catchers. Because he was dealing with 2 catchers. He had Logan O'Hoppe and he also had Travis d'Arnaud. But they kept using Travis d'Arnaud because it fit him basically. I understand the whole point of certain catchers fit certain pitchers, but at the same time, it could also hurt you too. The only time where it actually worked was with maybe 1 or 2 guys, Clayton Kershaw and Austin Barnes. That always worked. Same thing with Clayton Kershaw and AJ Ellis, and that makes sense because when Clayton Kershaw pitched with Yasmani Grandal behind the plate, his ERA was super high. I think he had an ERA of 3.9, but he had an ERA of 2.5 with Ellis behind the plate. So I just felt that Kikuchi, it was his time. He figured it out in that month and figured May was a good month. I think May was a perfect month because he was still getting his feet wet and he was still fresh, but also we had a lot of home series that month. And in April, he was pitching on the road. He hadn't pitched a home game yet. So finally in May, he's like, well, he's going to get more May starts. And it panned out pretty well.
All right, from a take that panned out great to a terrible take. The next one was Tyler Anderson will be an all-star in 2025. I've got no comment on this one, Vince. I don't think you do either. Terrible season for Tyler Anderson. I hope I never see you in an Angels uniform ever again. And also I was looking up his stats up to that point. I don't even know why we said that. At that point, he was 0-2, had pitched 27.3 innings in the month of in the entire month of May, 4.28 ERA in the month of May. May I add, did strike out 19, walked 10, gave up 13 earned runs. So as I said, we'll nothing to see here. F take by all accounts. Next one, I think is aging like fine wine. Zach Neto is a top 5 shortstop in baseball already. Now, obviously, he is on the IL right now, seemingly going to end the season on the IL. But Zach Neto, great season. Great season. Vince, does he continue to prove that if he's not quite at that top 5 tier, that he's going to get there pretty darn soon?
Yeah, totally, because he's so young. I mean, he's 29 or 24 or 25. And he had another season of was it 30-30 or 20 or 25-25, one of those.
They just missed 30-30.
He just missed 30-30. Okay, so 25-25. Him and Ellie De La Cruz are the only guys to do that. Below the age of 24. That tells you something. And Ellie De La Cruz gets a lot of praise, even though I call him Ellie De La Strikeout because he strikes out so many freaking times. But Zach Neto, yeah, his strikeout rate is kind of going up a little bit, but he'll figure it out eventually. But when you start maturing, the thing about baseball is when you start maturing, like I said, I said in one episode, your peak is about 28 to 30, 31. That's when you hit your peak in a baseball standpoint. He's obviously not there yet. Maybe his peak is early. Maybe he peaks at 26. Maybe he peaks at 27. We may never know. But I believe that he is going to be a top shortstop for sure because the generational shortstops are fading away a bit, but he has competition, of course. Gunnar Henderson had a bad year. Who knows how it's going to be next year? Bobby Witt Jr. also had an off year. Who knows how he's going to be next year? It's one of those things about next season, which like star shortstop is going to have an off year. And most likely it ain't going to be Zach Neto because he's on the rise right now. He's at the halfway point of the mountain right now at this point.
Yeah, no, I like Zach Neto. Currently my favorite player on the roster. He's fun to watch. I think he's a great leader. He leads by example. He looks like he's always having fun out there. Never seems to take a play off. I never see him lackadaisical out there like, a Taylor Ward is. So Zach Neto has fully earned my respect. I love watching him play. And I'm excited for his next season because he just keeps getting better. Once you're 29 and 30, then maybe you start worry about the edge of the cliff coming soon. But we haven't even gotten to the peak yet, at least in terms of his body maturity, right? Like you said, at 28, that's when your body's at its prime, both mentally and physically. And he's 24? So in theory, still has a way to go. I'm excited to see that climb. He's been a fun player to watch. This take, I feel we can kind of just throw in the garbage because we didn't really get a chance to really see what came of it. Matthew Lugo is 10 games into his MLB career. Matthew has already earned his right to start the bulk of the games remaining in 2025. Angels clearly didn't agree. He didn't stick around much longer after that. He did get another sip of coffee in the majors after this, but he didn't play a lot of games this season. I wish he would have, especially because at that time we had a lot of unknowns in terms of Jorge Soler already wasn't really producing. He just was kind of sputtering all year long. Trout hadn't gotten hurt yet, but, that was kind of on the horizon too. Matthew Lugo, still a question mark. I really want the guy to get a legitimate chance so we can actually see what we have in Matthew Lugo. So I don't think we really have too much to say about this one. Vince, do you?
No, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because it was only 10 games going in, and also he hadn't played much. So you really can't judge a kid by 20 games, basically. I think spring training, when it comes around, he's going to get his opportunities. I have confidence, though. I will put it that. Because there's a guy in left field who we might trade, and who's going to go out there? Matthew Lugo is a possibility. Obviously not Bryce Teodosio. He's going to be patrolling center field, most likely. Could he be an opening day center fielder? Possibly. It's in the works. And then Matthew Lugo, I mean, he might be a call-up mid-season, or he might be one of those guys that just fills in a spot when somebody gets hurt. But I hope he can be part of the core of future. I think he will, but the guy in left field needs to go in order for Matthew Lugo to have a chance at being a angel and a core angel in a way.
Yeah, the way I see it, Taylor Ward had the best season of his career in 2025. His value is at an all-time high. After the 2026 season, he's an unrestricted free agent. Someone's going to pay him. It probably won't be the Angels. Just trade him right now while his value's high. give a guy like Lugo an opportunity, or somebody else. Maybe it's Nelson Rod out of camp. Who knows? But at least you're giving the young guys an opportunity, because Taylor Ward is not, or at least should not be part of the long-term plan here, because he's way closer to the end of his prime than he is to the beginning of it. He's, 31 or so? So, yeah, Father Time is undefeated. We're seeing that with Mike Trout. And if Mike Trout is having this kind of collapse near the end of his prime, I'm a little more worried about a guy like Taylor Ward. Who knows? Maybe Taylor Ward will continue to produce. I would have rather, if you asked me, I would have put my money on Trout over Ward. So, next take, I alluded to this one as well. Zach Neto is the face of the Angels franchise. We both agreed with that take at the time. I think we both still stand by that take. I think it's an A+ take. Vince, anything about that? I mean, I think it was a great take.
No, he's definitely our guy now. It's the new face of the Angels. It's the new future. I mean, yeah, Mike Trout is still that guy, but it's like kind of like when Tim Salmon was at the tail end of his career. Who was like the next face after that? I mean, there were so many faces. I mean, some argue, Vladdy.
Yeah,
like
Vladdy.
probably it was most likely Weaver, yeah, Weaver as well. So that it is time to start moving on from Trout. I mean, no disrespect, I love Mike Trout. I have his jersey, I have T-shirts. I've always rooted for the guy, but at the same time, if you have kids, like if you have nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, whoever's listening, start buying those kids and Zach Neto jerseys right now. I mean, yeah, you can still buy Trout, but honestly, some of those kids would rather see Neto because they're going to grow up with him in a way. Trout, they're going to have him for maybe 2 or 3 more seasons, or 5, depending on how he takes care of himself. Zach Neto could probably be their guy for the next 10 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the kids probably just like Neto's flashiness a little bit more, right? Because it's more fun to see if you're younger. It's almost banana-like, if you will. Okay, this one is an interesting one. People called us crazy. Vince, people called us crazy. Christian Moore is ready to make his MLB debut. If you look at the comment section, we literally got called crazy. People are like, no, you guys are idiots. I think it was a week later, he made his Major League debut. We weren't that far off at all. We were very, very close. Let's see. This take was on June 10th, and he made his debut June 12th. There you go. Days after. We talked about this one for a while because there were some takes where Vince just kind of had it, and I thought to myself, you know what, that's a good one, and then vice versa. There was some where Vince was like, yeah, let's roll with it. I think I came up with the Neto one. You came up with almost all the Play of the Month ones.
Yeah, and we had Christian. We were thinking about Christian Moore for a while. You're right about that.
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks, and then that was the week that we both pulled the trigger, and because we were both talking about it, hey man, he's looking pretty good right now, and lo and behold, literally almost instantaneously, he made his Major League debut. Did he have the best rookie season? He had some highlights. I think there's enough there for me to be excited about hopefully him having a good offseason and see what kind of 2026 he can come up with. And he definitely had a promising enough season where there was enough potential where if the Angels do get a second baseman, it shouldn't be somebody longer than maybe a second-year option kind of contract. Because, Christian Moore is here.
What I hope for is that I think he should go to the Arizona Fall League. I don't know if he's eligible for that because I don't know how it works.
Yeah, they did not select him for the Arizona Fall League.
I wish they did because that would help.
They could have because Kyle Schwarber in 2016 went to represent the Cubs because he was injured and they wanted him to be part of that playoff run.
Yeah, so I wish they could have so he can get some extra work in. I think he's going to. He might find a fall league somewhere just to get some reps in and just to stay in that groove because, I mean, where he's from New York. There's really not much to do in New York because of the winters, basically, and the weather. So he has to be on the West Coast. And if there's something here, then great, go for it. But also
Go to Puerto Rico. He needs to go to like Puerto
he
Rico or
might,
something.
yeah, it's not a bad idea.
There's a lot
But
of players who go down there, and hey, man, they have really, really good. They have great programs down there. Very, very safe and protected for the players there. Puerto Rico's not as bad as a lot of people say it is if you're a ball player. You know what I mean? You go there, you mind your own business. You're not going to have a lot of issues.
yeah, so I know he'll get the work in because he is a workhorse and he always talks about going to work. It's like, and he's a kid from Brooklyn. They're hardworking people, and then also playing in Tennessee, they're hardworking players too. I mean, he won a national championship with them, so that mentality just transfers over. Yeah, I feel confident in him being a future second baseman and being part of the core four, like I keep saying every single episode that we mention him.
Yeah, yeah. I am a big fan of Christian Moore, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Next take, another one where we completely flopped on, so probably not much to talk about. Reed Detmers will return to the starting rotation in the coming weeks. That never happened. So, I mean, hey, you can't hit on all of them, folks. You simply can't hit on all of them. This is where I was on the cruise, so there's definitely a little bit of a gap there. Okay, Nolan Shania will be the Angels Player of the Month in July. Vince, this was another one of your predictions, and there you go. You hit the nail with the hammer. How did you feel about this take that you made?
I felt pretty good because of July is a pretty good month for a lot of players. July is kind of also peak month in a way in baseball, but also I believe that I was kind of worried at the same time about the All-Star break, if it was going to affect him or if it was going to make him better, and I believe it made him a little bit better. So it was a time to shine for him because he is part of the future. He is part of that core four, core five, however you want to put it. And he just had to, at some point or another, he had to let the baseball world know that I really want to help this team win, and I really want to win with this team. But it had to come at crunch time, and crunch time was July because we were still kind of in the hunt, but not 100% in the hunt. But as a first baseman, you got to remember, you have to get on base, you have to score runs. Well, you're actually more of a power hitter as a first baseman, but since he bats second, he has to get on base because of Mike Trout was hitting right behind him. So, and also the way he hits, he's a guy who hits for average. And it's rare to see first basemen like that because they're home run hitters, but he took the exception. And that's why I like him personally, because he's not about hitting the home runs. It's just get on base. That's it. And then just you get to two strikes, just get on base. You don't try to tag one, because you shoot one of the right to the right side, left side. Guess what? The guy behind you is going to be so happy because, like, hey, I'm ready to bring you in, brother.
Yeah, so in July, he played 25 games, got 29 hits, 4 doubles, no triples, 2 homers, 13 RBIs, 11 walks, and struck out 11 times. There's players who struck out 11 times a series. So there you go. Pretty good month of July there. I would say that was a good take. I definitely give it an A. Now, another take that was not our best. The Angels will draft Ethan Holiday with the 2nd overall pick. Man, oh man, we're not even close. We were so far off that most people didn't even know who the Angels drafted 2nd because they were like, who's this guy? He went where? So, yeah, not much to say there. I'm guessing that's probably one of those move along ones. He ended up going to Colorado. What was that? Pick number 4? Pick number 4?
It was it was 4 because number 3 was Seattle, and they got Kate Anderson. And but you know what? It honestly kind of felt like the 2017 NBA draft with Lonzo Ball. You know, everybody was saying like, oh, Lonzo Ball is going to be a Laker, and then the whole speculation of like, is the NBA draft rigged? Because like was he supposed to be a Laker from here on out? Same thing with Ethan Holiday. Was he supposed to be a Rocky from here on out? We'll never know.
Fair enough. Okay. Next take that we had, Joe Adell is currently the best center fielder in the American League West. I mean, at that point, it was middle of July. He was definitely looking good. He had, I think I might have accidentally skipped the one where we predicted that he was going to have the best month, or was that August?
No, his best month was June because that's where he hit. That's where he went off.
Okay, yeah. So I must have missed that hot take that we made because we definitely had made the one where he was going to lead the team and have
That's
the
what it
best.
was. Yeah, it was in June, and he did.
He did. He had a great month. We were off. We predicted 9 together.
Yeah. Actually, I just threw a random number. I said 9, and then he hit
11. Yeah. Hey, not bad. Close. It was a good month for him.
And 9 was a crapshoot for me, by the way, because I could have easily said 6.
Yeah, but I feel like 6 isn't impressive. You know what I mean?
Well, with this Angels lineup, it is.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, yes, a little bit of clickbait, as we admitted during that take. His defensive play in center field was not the best at that point. Clearly, they moved him back to right field. And since he went back to right field, he got a lot more defensively sound. But overall, Joe Adell has really proven himself this season, really matured this year, turned into a more complete hitter. And I'm hoping that next year, he can take the next step and continue to be better. And maybe next year be a 262, 270 hitter. I think would be his ceiling. Hit another 30 plus and drive in about 70 to 80. That would be ideal for Joe Adell.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's more realistic because 270 probably the highest, and then he keeps the power numbers going, and he has the OPS. That's going to be pretty key too, because that's what we all care about in this generation. Not me. I mean, I care more about average. I think if you're able to get on base, I think honestly, I think a player with high on base percentage is probably more valuable than a player with a high OPS, because you have a high OPS, but guess what? Can you work walks? Can you set up runs for the guys behind you? That's pretty key right there. I know it's kind of the Moneyball talk, but at the same time, like it's also the old school way of baseball. When you're playing the high school level, same thing. Can your players get on base? Can you work counts? Can you get to first base anyway? Can you put the ball in play? All that stuff. If Joe Adell can continue to do that, continue to put the ball in play and work walks, because I think he had that issue this year, hence the strikeout rates. Maybe he'll take some tips from Nolan Shawnewell. I think Shawnewell will be a guy. I know he's younger than Adell, but I would love to see those two talk it out. And Joe Adell saying, "Look, what do you do to grind your at bats and keep them long, and so I can get him to first base via walk? Because if I get to 2 strikes, I'm swinging for my life right there. What do you do?" And then Shawnewell will probably say, "Come on, I got you. Let's work on some stuff."
Yeah, he has a completely different approach. Okay, the following take. The Angels will buy from now until the trade deadline. Unfortunately, we were correct about that. They got Andrew Chafin, they got Luis Garcia, and then they got Oswald Peraza. Could you really call that a complete buy? No, I expected a little bit more of a buy-in, but still technically it was a buy. So
it was a Black Friday buy.
Yeah, but I mean, like
discounts.
Yeah, but like current Black Friday, not like how Black Friday used to be when you would get like an iPad and a TV.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, because now you got some DVDs.
Yeah, or maybe like I'm trying to figure out like what sales or something, or like coupons. There you go.
Got a toaster. You got like a toaster, $10 off.
There you go. That's it.
You're like, hey man, I needed to buy the toaster. It was $10 off, and people were like, really, for $10? Like, Whatever, man. That's fine. I guess go enjoy your toaster strudels. Let us know down below in the comments what your favorite toasted food item is from a toaster. Okay.
Pop-Tarts on a good day, but
I'm not a big Pop-Tart guy. Okay. Upon his return from injury, Christian Moore will heat up quickly and be the player of the month for August. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Bad take. Bad take. They were not all good, as I had already alluded to. Let me see. Next one. Okay. Oswald Peraza was a great acquisition. Now, this was a hot take even at the time. We both agreed. Vince, do you want to maybe continue to sell your point? Because I remember you were a big fan of that acquisition. Not the fact that it was our biggest acquisition. Wasn't the sexiest name, but I do remember you being excited for it, and you did get me to agree with you.
because he could fill in at third base, and we know we have a big hole at third base next year because some guys definitely not going to come back. There's a big. Everyone says, "Oh, he might." No, don't even think about it. Because he's young, he has 2 more years of control on his contract. It was a safe move, and also he's a pretty good defender. But also, the point I was making when we had that conversation was the way that he was being developed in New York compared to how he's going to get developed here. If anything, the Angels, I don't believe we have the best development. We talk about it all the time. It's definitely not. But I think there might be some way. If we get a new coaching staff next year, if we get a completely big makeover in the development program and everything else, then maybe the Angels will look at Oswald and say, hey, we see you as a line drive hitter. We see you as putting the ball in play because you're definitely not a power hitter. You're not in New York anymore. In New York, they make you into power hitters. You could have the lowest contact rate in the league, but they'll make you home run hitters because, look, you have a short porch. Use it to your advantage, basically. But here in Anaheim, we don't have a short porch. But what do we have? We have gaps. We know how to hit the ball in the gap by the rocks area, dead center or left center, hit the wall off the bullpen, all that stuff. I would say hit the wall and right, but remember, there's a line down there, so if you hit that wall, it's a home run. But before the line moved down, you hit that wall, you're basically either going to hit a double, you're going to be a double or triple depending on your speed. I believe that the Angels are going to help him be the player that he was supposed to be when he got drafted, because the Yankees just totally messed him up, and that was the one issue they had with him. They were saying, why wasn't he the prospect that we expected? And I was an article I read where they said it's because of the way he was developed. He was developed as a power hitter, not as a contact hitter who can get on base. I believe the Angels are going to do that. That's why I felt he was the right choice to get. Don't be surprised if he's the opening day third baseman next season, because number 6 definitely ain't.
Yeah, just for that, number 6 is going to hear this and be like, watch, I can do it. And he's going to go up there and he's going to break his kneecap during the pregame introductions when he's like jogging out there. Okay, so this is definitely our most engaged with hot take. Darren Erstad is still the best center fielder in franchise history. Did we clickbait you? Absolutely. Did we rage bait you? Absolutely. And clearly it worked. It got shared 10 times between messages, comments, 29 comments, and that was just on Instagram. So, we definitely agreed that it was Mike Trout. I mean, it was rage bait at its finest. Vince, I'm going to give you an opportunity, though. Do you retract your statement, or is it Mike Trout?
No, it's still Mike Trout, but it just Darren Erstad was the way that he played the game. I think it was just a lot different because it's 2 different types of players. You got the hard-nosed guy, and then you got the guy who put him in bubble wrap in a way, and because Darren Erstad showed no fear. Now Mike Trout did when he was younger. I mean, there was, he ran into walls, no problem. He was making diving catches, but also now he's getting older. You don't see it as much. But Darren Erstad, of course, as I mentioned, was a valuable defensive player. I think that's where it takes the cake in a way, because Trout was valuable offensively. And not saying that Darren Erstad wasn't a valuable offensive player, because he was. I mean, let's not forget in 2000 he led the league in hits, and it also during that World Series run, the guy was playing with a broken hand. People forget about that, and he could have easily. I mean, in this generation, unfortunately, there's a bunch of pretty boys in this league where it's just like you have a broken hand, yeah, you're done. Darren Erstad said, "I don't give a crap. I can still swing the bat. Watch me," and he did. So I think the talk of Darren Erstad being the best center fielder was kind of the intangible part of him, and like the passion that he put in. Not saying Mike Trout doesn't have the passion, but I feel like more kids, at least in our generation, wanted to be like more like Darren Erstad and less like other guys in the league, for sure.
Yeah, we're very far removed from the Darren Erstad type players, the players who would work through these gruesome injuries. For anybody who does watch wrestling, like Cody Rhodes when he had that completely shattered pectoral muscle and it was all purple, and people are like, "Why are you wrestling like that with a ruptured pec?" And his argument was, well, he went to the doctor, and he asked the doctor, "Can this get worse?" And the doctor was like, "No," and he was like, "Great, I guess I'm fighting." You know what I mean? It's just like, well, my hand's broken. Can I break it worse?
That reminds
All right.
That reminds me of Miracle when one of the hockey players has a bad bruise on his leg, and Herb goes over to the doc and says, "So what do you got? Upper leg contusion."
You got a bad bruise.
Yeah, because like, can he still skate? Is like, I mean, I was like, what do you mean? He's like, can he hurt it any worse? No, but it will be very painful if he skates. All right, then he's playing. It's like, well, what do you mean? He's got a bad bruise. It's like, yeah, but you're a hockey player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And that's the 80s too. The 80s, nobody gave a crap if you were hurt. It's like, dude, just tape it up and get out there. But today it's like I think longevity is one reason too, but also like we're really cautious. Times have changed. In one sentence, times have changed. Time marches on. Tracy Lawrence.
Absolutely. So here was another one. Vince, we've given a lot of credit for some really good hot takes. We do got to bring up a bad hot take. This was Vince's for sure. The Nelson Rada will be called up this September. Didn't get the opportunity. He will get the opportunity during spring training. So, at least it wasn't one that you like just fumbled on. He just didn't get an opportunity. It wasn't like he got called up and absolutely sucked or anything like that.
But we did have some good takes on why he does deserve to be up here, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like his tenacity. I like what he brings. I like his game. I think that he has a dimension that Bryce Teodosio is good defensively, is a speedster. Nelson Rada is also those two things, but he has the ability to be better offensively. Would he, if he got called up right now? Probably not. I'm sure he'd be a little overmatched because he's still a young kid. But I do think that Nelson Rada is going to be a Brandon Marsh type player when he is up. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need guys like Brandon Marsh who are gamers, who have the ability to be solid major league hitters, who can be productive on the base paths. That's a good player to have. You're not always going to have the superstar Mike Trout type guys, right? And I'd make the argument that I would take 9 Brandon Marshes over 1 Mike Trout. And if the Angels had 9 Brandon Marsh type players, I think we would have made a lot more playoffs over the last 10 years. But once again, topic for another day. Unless you
I will definitely circle Nelson Rada's name for spring training because for sure he's going to get reps. Mm-hmm. And if you use the MLB app, you can follow certain players and it shows up like what they've done this past week, and you can look up their stats super quick on the app. I think I would use Nelson Rada's name for sure. Hey, if he becomes a star in the near future, don't be surprised if I buy his jersey. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. I remember him being fun to watch during spring training, so we will see. One take we did not have to see very long to figure out that it was very wrong, and Colton Flom 94 reminding us that this take aged like milk. Jose Soriano will be the pitcher of the month, and that was for the month of September. I don't even think he qualified. 1 start, 2.1 innings pitched, 5 hits, 8 runs, all earned, 1 home run, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts. Vince, nothing to see here. Terrible take on.
I think maybe the fatigue kicked in a little bit. I think just the long season because we had so many injuries in this month of September, unfortunately. Maybe it caught on to him a bit. Well, then again, he got hit by a baseball hard. I think that's a little bit different. I mean, he could have easily came back in probably like a week or two, but they figured, you know what, like you did your part. Yeah, what's the point? Exactly. Unless he came in and said, no, give me one more start because it's like I really want to be out there. But it's like, no, it's like, Jose, we know you want to be out there. But at the same time, we want you out there for the next 4 to 5 years, hopefully 8.
Yeah, I like Jose Soriano. I definitely think he has the stuff to be a number 2 in the Angels rotation. Really the number 2 in most rotations. He has very, very good upside. And I do wonder how he would do if he was on a rotation like, dare I say, you guys might hate me for this, but the Seattle Mariners, who have a very, very good starting rotation. If he slotted in as one of those guys, would he be better? Would the rising tide elevate him as well? We'll never truly know. But I'm hoping that he is going to have a healthy offseason so that he has the ability to come next year and who knows, maybe be the A word next year if the Angels don't go and sign one or trade for one, which honestly I'm still kind of hoping is the case. And that brings us to our last formal hot take, and this was last week's. Perry Manazian is the worst Angels GM we've had this decade. You and I came in with our chests out. Like, you know what? I do think he's going to be the worst GM. Rob changed our mind. I think he got us to both believe and agree that it is Jerry Dipoto. Jerry Dipoto is kind of the face of ugliness when you think about where this started. I hate to use such a negative term, but for lack of a better phrase, he's almost the cancer cell in the body, right? That kind of started the cancer that's been the last 10 years. It's been a very, very tough thing to live through for an Angels fan. And, I don't mean there's a negative for anyone who has any loved ones affected by cancer. I think we all do, right? I mean, it's such a terrible disease. But you get what I'm saying, Vince. Jerry Dipoto is certainly the source and the root of the problem when it really boils down to it. Was it solely him? We'll never know. Was it Artie? Once again, we'll never know. But he did definitely oversee the most pivotal part of the last 10 years because it's really set up this organization for failure since no top 10 picks during that time. And a lot of those years, Jerry didn't even get a first-round pick. And the Angels are still paying that price to this day.
Yeah, it's totally unfortunate. And I think I said Billy Epler was the worst one. I think but I did agree with the points that Rob made. It did make sense. I just felt that Billy Epler made everything worse when he could have easily made it better. But it's like but you made a good point. It's like trying to use a kid's Tonka toy to fix the hole. Basically, like it's not going to work like that. I mean, we can only hope for what this offseason is. Are we going to get a new manager? Or are we going to have the same manager? Honestly, I think we're going to have a new makeover in the coaching in managing and everything, because from an inside source, from what I've heard, Ron Washington is not doing so well. Like he has to retire. He can barely walk, from what I'm hearing. It's time. I hate to say it because I respect Ron Washington, all the hard work he's put in the game of baseball. He is a baseball face for sure, and the way he helps these infielders become better. And the way how aggressive he plays, especially when he was a third base coach for the Braves, it's there's a time in your life where you have to tell yourself, where the baseball gods tell you, like, look, you've done your part in baseball. Enjoy time with your family. You know, enjoy time with your wife. Enjoy time with your children, your grandchildren, if you have that. And it hurts, but you know what? You got to face reality. And Ron, I hope he's ready to retire and just say, look, I've had my years in baseball. If I want to be an advisor, great. But if that's the best thing for me, I'll take it. So I think we're going to have a new makeover for sure. I hope Perry selects the right guys. I think he's going to go young now because there's the talks of Albert Pujols, Torrey Hunter, maybe I think Darren Erstad would be a nice choice too. Troy Percival also in the talks, but we got to go young right now. If I was to go the direction as a GM, you got to go young but I still would like the traditional method of forget analytics is what I'm saying, because analytics is hurting us right now. That's why our pitching is struggling, because why can't we get guys out with 2 strikes? Whereas these other teams, like with the Braves, with Brian Snitker, he hates analytics. And yeah, the Braves were having a bad season, but look at the time where the Braves were winning. Brian Snitker said, look, I'm not telling you what to throw. It's whatever you feel good with and whatever your catcher says. Just trust them, basically. It's not happening here, unfortunately.
Well, there you have it. I mean, we went through all the hot takes. I'll kind of close it out, and then I'll give Vince the final words here, and he can close it out how he sees fit on his end. Well, let's get to the yard work of everything first. Thank you to our sponsor, 714 Tickets. Use code HITI at checkout, HITI. That's for 10% off. They already have low rates. They have great deals. The price you see is the price you pay. But wait, not so fast, because if you use that 10% off, you get 10% off that already great price. So keep that in mind. 714 Tickets for almost every kind of possible event that you could possibly think of. Make sure you check out 714 Tickets first. And remember our code, just save you a little bit of money. Brewheim, mention Halos and Infield for drink specials for some great local brews. The OC Dugout's always doing a bunch of fun memorabilia events, or maybe you want some memorabilia yourself. Some autographs, some baseball cards, bobbleheads, whatever, you name it. They have a nice little storefront there with almost everything you could possibly imagine. So keep the OC Dugout in mind. Let them know we sent you. And, of course, Max Market Pros. No matter how big or small your business is, head of Max Market Pros. They'll help you guys out. They are Google certified, and they will move you to the top of Google. What I want to say is I can't believe the year's already over. Went by in an absolute flash. I know that's how a lot of us feel. Man, the older we get, the quicker time goes. It feels like we just had our first show back in March, and we were still kind of figuring out how you and I are going to work together. And, you know, that kind of like, I don't even want to say like awkward couple first episodes, but you're trying to learn the flow of the other person. And now it feels like we've done this for a while, and, it's been quite a few episodes, but it's been fun. You and I have become friends for sure. It's been fun to talk life. It's been fun to talk baseball. And it was fun to actually finally get to meet and spend time together. And hey, you and I didn't embarrass ourselves. We had a decent performance. There was a couple of errors I wish I would have made, but that's kind of the tricky thing about softball, right? Those weird hops the ball takes, those weird back spins that the ball takes. But it was a good time to be out there with you, and it's been fun to talk Angels baseball. It's been fun to have you guys, the listeners, around. It's been fun to have you guys participate. You guys make watching Angels baseball worth it, because I think to myself, with these last, almost 5 years, I mean, we're 4.5 years in, would be like if we didn't have the community, and it just feels like it'd be so much emptier. It's fun to go to the stadium. It's fun to interact with you guys. It's fun to see you guys out in places and have you guys be like, hey, you're Lone Star Halo, and I'm sure Vince gets the same thing with, hey, you're Vince the Angels Cowboy. It's fun. It reminds us that people do care. People do listen. And yeah, it's been a fun ride. It's been a rewarding year. Looking forward to what this offseason brings. Looking forward to doing more episodes with you, and looking forward to hearing from you guys, the audience. Thank you guys for a fun 2025 season. Here's to 2026. Vince?
Yeah, it honestly feels like the last day of school. I mean, it's because we're still going to see each other. That's the funny part. It's like, oh, it's the last episode. Oh, it's the last day of school. Well, don't worry. Like, before you know it, we'll be talking about spring training. We'll be talking about the season coming up. But we talked about it. And I've talked to some people off camera. There is a possibility of off-season talks. We might do off-season hot takes about which free agent we might sign, or which trade might happen, or who should get traded, all that stuff, right? So this is not the end. I mean, we'll be active. We'll still be keeping in touch and saying, hey, you heard about this trade? Let's talk about it. You heard about this signing? Let's talk about it, and go from there. So this is just the beginning. I mean, 1 year. Yeah, I can't believe it's gone that fast. But like, I just remember talking about the first episode we had was the pre-show, because we had a pre-episode as well. Let's not forget about that back in February, to basically get to know each other and know who we're working with. And that's the one thing that I've always had an issue with. Was I've done podcasting in college. I went to school for it, and I plan on doing a future in it with marketing, broadcasting, anywhere. But the issue is it's such a competitive field to be in. It's really hard to get into, and especially in Los Angeles, in the market, because we got the biggest media market in the entire nation, and it's super, super hard. So you kind of have to go on your own. And I love how this program is. I mean, I've been following you guys since 2021. And yeah, Todd's had his moments, and I've listened, and I've been just like him too with the rants, and I've commented a few times. I wasn't the Angels Cowboy yet; I was just Vince from Anaheim at the point at that time. But I was so honored when Todd gave me a message, and I think we exchanged numbers too. And he said, "Hey, I want to talk to you personally." I said, "Sure." We had a talk, and he said, "I want you on my show," and I said, "Okay." And that was the easiest yes I could have ever said. And I'm so happy to do this, because I know how much of a family this is. And that's how much honor it is to be a part of this. And like I said, I've seen you guys. I've known you guys just watching the pregame show, interviews as well, Ty Buttrey interviews, whatnot. And I'm just glad to be here. And we can only go up from here. And for me personally, I can only go up from here too, because when I started this account, I remember starting with like 250 followers. I said, man, like, is this ever gonna grow? And I started doubting myself at one point. But then I had other content creators who came and said, dude, you need to just post stuff. That's it. Just post the most randomest crap you can think of, and you might get looked at. And that's where creativity started coming in. I had some issues there. But then I started looking at other content creators and said, okay, well, what do you do? It's like, dude, just kind of like, don't copy them, but like, and get inspired by them. And I did that. And that's why I do those on the street questions with fans. I hope to continue that. That's my plan for next off season, or next season, that is. But I'm going to do my best to engage with everybody, but I can't do it all by myself. None of us can do it all by ourselves. This entire network, we're all in one. Yeah, Todd is the face of the network, but you gotta remember, there's Fernando, there's Dominic, there's myself, there's James, there's Rob, and it's a nucleus basically, and that's what makes us unique. And I wish the season was obviously better, because then we would have more positive things to talk about. But I do feel like positive things are going to happen next season. But it all comes down to what's going on this off season, and to everybody, to all the listeners out there, and the viewers, enjoy this off season. It's Christmas time, Halloween, Thanksgiving. Spend time with your families. At New Year's, be safe. Just everywhere you go, just be careful. But because before you know it, just like Vince Scully said when the snow melts, it's baseball season. When he said his goodbye, I'm trying to quote it, but I don't know it heart by heart. But it's one of my favorite speeches from him, because I grew up with Vince Scully. We all did, and Vince Scully was one of my idols, the guy who inspired me to become a broadcaster and to do things like this. And who knows? Like this account can only, like I said, it's only beginning. And the same thing with the Heating Network. I am hoping to help this network grow, but it takes all of us. It's not just one guy. It takes all of us, and I'm so happy to finally meet all of you guys. I hope to see each other more in the future. I know it's tough with Fernando because he's in Texas, but it's even tougher out here because of our work schedules. We have other responsibilities. We have to pay bills, car payments, insurance, whatever, right? Or even new job opportunities. Like myself. I mean, maybe I find something that is up my alley. And it's like, hey, like this is my dream, and I finally do it. And I can't thank you guys enough, and I can't thank the fans enough too, because I love this community just as much as anybody.
Well, it's been fun to definitely have you here for your first official year, yeah, we'll see what next year brings for all of us. We've been on this network for a couple of years, Todd and I. For whatever reason, I'm never going to tell people what to do. We always get a bunch of people who unfollow us at the end of the year. And then as soon as the year comes back around, baseball season, a lot of people will refollow. So, for any of those people, we'll see you when the next year rolls around. And for anyone who sticks around, obviously we appreciate it. We encourage you to keep following the page because we do post off-season news. And, of course, we do have some off-season podcasts as well. Until next year when we officially start the Hot Take Hoedown all over again and the official podcasts again, have a good off season. And until then, we'll still be around doing sporadic shows here and there. Keep it locked in here at Halos in Infield and at Angels_Cowboy. You guys take care.
From Anaheim down to the Texas plains, hot takes flying right and all.